We will call to order the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, 4:30 p.m. in the Gallery Room, Chatham Community Center, 115 South Main Street, Chatham, Virginia. Roll call, please.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Farmer?
Here.
Mr. Ingram?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Scarce?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here. Are there items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to add the following items to the agenda. Add potential communication to Governor Northam regarding reopening county businesses. Discussion is item 6B. And add the following item 8B1. Closed session, discussion of award of public contract involving the expenditures of public funds, including interviews and bidders or offerers, and discussion of the items or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body per legal authority of Virginia Code 2-2-3711A29. Subject matter, reassessment, purpose, reassessment, contract, award, discussion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce to amend the agenda and seconded by Mr. Davis. Just for a matter of information, item 8B1 that Mr. Scarce referenced would be part of closed session. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Davis?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's
Got it
okay.
on
We'll
here.
vote right here.
All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. I apologize, Madam Clerk. We just got out of one meeting where we did it orally, so can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I make a motion we approve the amended agenda as been presented.
Motion by Mr. Dudley, seconded by Mr. Ingram. Any discussion on the motion?
Got to vote on it.
We'll let Jim vote on it so we can get the move in a second. Okay, no discussion. Please cast your votes. All right, please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. For the citizens' convenience, all work sessions and committee meetings are now being recorded and can be viewed on the same YouTube location as the Board of Supervisors business meetings. Please remember that the board's work sessions is designed for internal board and county staff communications, discussions, and work. It is not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained, respectfully. Any outbursts or disorderly conduct from the audience will not be tolerated and may result in the offending person's removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens of appropriate parties are designatees by the board's bylaws are permitted to make comments on the hearing of the citizens section of tonight's business meeting. Presentation. We're done a broadband survey. Gene Hallmail?
Plymale.
Hallmail.
Yes, what you? Gene, are you on the phone? She's calling you in and
Okay.
go to me.
Yes, I'm here. Are you ready?
Yes, basically, Mr. Chairman, a few months ago, the county sent out questionnaires for a broadband survey with different questions about broadband availability and uses in the county. CIT did that for us, and Gene's going to present the results of that and give us an update and kind of go over some of the data that was gathered. So take it away, Gene.
And thank you for allowing me some time with you to go over what we collected from Pittsylvania County residents and businesses. Before I start, I'm going to condense this pretty much. In your package, you probably have three pieces of material. One is a very big point. One is a document called decision document, and one is called community comments. So I'm going to do an abbreviated piece of the assessment, and if you want to follow along the original slide number 23, or 21 rather, is where I'm going to start. As a prefix, shortly after we started this process, I believe we decided their official stance on broadband was to not initiate projects themselves, but to work with the providers, the local providers, to expand in the areas that they choose to expand. So I'm going to keep it to the survey. The decision document offers some further recommendations and so forth, probably for you guys to look through, but I'll just stick to just the survey. So I'm going to move forward. I will go through this quickly. It's just your reported coverage, and I hope that you'll pay attention to a couple of slides that I'll point out specifically. Coverage is based on FCC data. We know it's very flawed, but it's the only data anybody in the United States has to work with, and we use that data to make some assessments here. And I'm going to move forward. I do want you to see, I do want you to see that you do have quite a number of service providers that claim to serve Pittsylvania County, and that's all good news. It's probably very overstated, but still, there's quite a lot of providers in your locality. First, we're going to look at, I just want you to sort of keep in mind where these areas are. So a lot of cable, lots and lots of DSL, and I'm sure you're aware, various providers there. Very little right now wireless coverage, but I expect the fiber route. You know you've got lots of fiber in your locality, and I'll go through some more of that later on. But what I really want you to see here is this is an image of where unserved, according to FCC data, where areas in Pittsylvania County do not have broadband as defined by FCC, which is 25.3. And what we're seeing, about 40% of the address points in Pittsylvania County are unserved. And I should say that address points are not just homes and businesses. It's anything E911 would want an address for. So it's a bigger number than just. This is a really important slide showing you where the yellow pieces are is where River Street has now got federal funding to build out in Pittsylvania County, and they're obligated to build these places out, and they've obligated to gig services, which is generally fiber to the home. Those pink dots all over is where both CenturyLink and Fairpoint have reported to the federal government that they have done upgrades to services. So just keep all that in mind as we go through the further other details here. So I'm going to talk now about the broadband survey. This slide summarizes everything. I'm not going to go through the slides after this, go through each of these. And by the way, if there are questions, you might as well just interrupt me if you have questions, but I'm going to move forward. Basically, though, I want you to know that you did get a pretty good response rate from your survey. That 95 plus or minus 2 means that you can be 95%, anywhere between 93 and 97% sure that the answers that people gave are representative of the locality. So first of all, I wanted you to see where all the survey results came from. These are always sort of fun to see. This is just the locations and the numbers of responses from those various locations. And it's not surprising that your biggest population centers have the biggest response rates. So we know that most of the people in Pittsylvania County have internet, but we also know that there's about % do not. I found it very interesting to find that, we asked why don't you have internet, and, a lot of times people say it's too expensive. Nobody really wants to pay what you have to pay to get services, and we can't control that. That's the corporations that control that. But what is surprising is to see most people that don't have internet don't have it because it's just plain not available to them. This is a really, really interesting slide. What we did was we asked people what kind of connections they have at home. And can you, I hope you, I guess you can't see my cursor, but on the right and left of Route 29, you see all those pinks and light blues. Those are all satellite and cellular connections. Most of the time when you see satellite and cellular connections, that means there's nothing else available, or they would have chosen they would have chosen cable if it was available, or even DSL if it was available. So if you remember that slide a few bits ago that showed where River Street has funding to build out, that whole part on the left or the east side of 29 is those places that don't have broadband,
Right.
meaning they've only got satellite or cellular connections. And we see that most people in Pennsylvania are on, or at least most respondents are using cable connections followed by DSL. And you can see there's quite a bit of cellular and satellite and DSL and dial-up even that will respond. So it's about 62% of your respondents that are using what we call inadequate, unreliable, expensive, or obsolete services. So we also ask people to rate their home internet connection, and it's not surprising. Most people are not happy with their internet connection, and we want to know why. It doesn't do us any good if we just say we don't like it. We want to find out why. And the big reason, which is really
not high
surprising
speed.
here, is that the connections are too slow. And what's really surprising about that is that we rarely see areas that have cable services report that they're not happy with the cable services. Cable is about the best, unless you can get fiber to the home, cable is about the best service you can get. And in the Pittsylvania survey, we're seeing that cable was cited most often as not meeting the needs of the subscribers. And that's curious. So we want to know a little bit more about that. This is not the best slide. We've got a better one coming up. But I wanted to see where in Pennsylvania people were saying that cable services were not satisfactory. So this is a better slide that shows this. So this slide here is telling us that these areas with the yellow dot are where people that have cable services are reporting that the cable is not meeting their needs. And generally when we see this kind of response, it's usually in areas where the infrastructure is old. So it's likely that the infrastructure, the cable infrastructure is oversubscribed and has not been upgraded with fiber. This is one of the areas the county can do something about. You can talk to your cable providers. You can share this slide with them and try to find out why people in this area, in these areas, are reporting the cable is too slow. This might be, like I said, a situation where the infrastructure is old and that do need to do upgrades. And the county has a lot of leverage here with your providers to try to get them to upgrade their service. Again, this is a duplicate slide basically. This is just a breakdown of what people are saying, what the respondents were saying about why meet their needs, and I've said it over and over. Generally, connections are too slow, an unreliable service. And generally, unreliable service is more the DSL side. I myself have been on DSL. If it rains too hard, my telephone doesn't work, and let alone my internet. So I'm familiar with that problem. Okay. So also, while we're talking, while we have the respondents' attentions, we want to find out, well, you know, if we were able to bring new services into the location, into the locality, would you even take those services? And they would tell me that yes, most people will take a new service if they can afford it. And basically, most people say that they can afford between $50 and $100 a month for a better service. Okay. We also want to know about home telephones, because telephones are a big deal. I'm using a telephone right now to talk to you, a cell phone. And we want to know where, you know, cellular is or is not reliable. So most of the county depends on cellular for home services. And yet many of our thirds are saying that their cellular service is not reliable. And that's dangerous. Especially as we get to the point where our traditional landline telephones are not being supported anymore. You know, we've got to rely on cellular services. So the yellow dots all over here are the places where people have reported that the cellular service is not reliable. So that's an area where the county might want to consider if and when you go for expanding broadband, at the same time you might consider soliciting for improved cellular services too. Okay, we're always concerned, and more so now today, about our K-12 families and where they are and how, if they can get service. So you've got quite a lot of K-12 families. We've got 67% of the households that responded to the survey indicate that they had K-12 students. That's big. That's one of the biggest K-12 counties that I've seen. Yet we see that there's a significant percentage that do not have access to the internet after school, 12% there. And we know that K-12 internet connection, when you're probably hearing it constantly these last 2 weeks. We also learned that at least 40% of the families are depending on the local library for access after school. Okay, this is important too, and this makes me smile a lot because Pittsylvania County has just a whole bunch of home-based businesses. That's really good news, I think. Local economy, small business is the core of local economy, and I know Pittsylvania knows that well. So you do have quite a lot of home-based businesses. Those brighter blue spots are where people indicated they had home-based businesses. Yet there's more than half of those people, or half of those reports, say their internet is not meeting their needs. And anymore, we can't consider businesses just to be storefronts. Businesses can be any place now, and no business, whether it's at home or in a storefront, should be constrained by lack of bandwidth. Okay, I hope these slides are looking okay. They're kind of funny on my computer. But we also asked, what do you do with your internet service? And the next slide's going to be what do you wish you could do? Well, it's not surprising that we see that most people use their internet to do the things that we all do. We consume data. We look at web browsers, we do shopping, we look at social media, just the things everybody does. But these are what we call consumer activities, and I bet some of you have heard that term thrown around quite a bit. And that's when, you're downloading things. You're not pushing things up to the internet. You're not producing products on the internet. And what we want to try to do is change that scenario so that you've got a number of, you don't want to just consume, you need to produce data too. So this slide is just a generalized slide of, what do people do. This next slide, though, is more important in the sense that this is what people want to be able to do. And this is what we call producer applications and services. And that means you need higher bandwidth, and generally you need to have a bigger upload capability. When we talk about broadband being 25 megabits down, that means consumer down, and 3 megabits up, that means producer up. You can see the constraint there. The upload is constrained, and that's intentional because, basically, unless you have a business connection, you're probably not going to have a bigger upload. But that will constrain you from doing a lot of producing activity. So here we see that if there were better services, almost 40% of your respondents would work from home. 21% would operate home. 21% more would operate home-based businesses. And this is important because you know that working from home and home-based businesses are keeping those local dollars circulating in your local economy. All right, so we really did not get a lot of business response. As you can see, we only got about 35 traditional storefront businesses that responded. But, so we can't really say much about that. It's not a statistical, we didn't have any way to know whether or not that was a statistically significant number. I suspect it was not, so there's really no generalizations we can make off of this. So it's just general information at this point. I did have a slide here that just shows where the businesses responded. That might be of interest to you. Again, these numbers are skewed because there's not really many responses. But, it's the same kind of information that we're getting from the residents, although it looks like those businesses that responded are using more DSL than cable. Residents seem to be using more cable, businesses seem to be using DSL. And it could be a cost issue there. And we do have some other information on that. And I do want to go kind of quickly here because I want you guys to see where some of your local assets are. And your local assets are your leverage points. These are important for you as a locality to leverage as you can to expand services. Number one, you've got a good number of what we call vertical asset towers. We get this information from the FCC. We also get information from VML, which is the Virginia Municipal League, and you do have at least one Virginia state tower. And depending on how that tower, and it's right in the center of the map there, it's a little orange triangle. Actually, you have two. So Virginia allows, if the site is engineered to accept more equipment, the state of Virginia does allow broadband access to those towers to expand broadband. So that's an asset for you to use. I also wanted to, well, you probably are just very aware because you've got NBC there. Almost every other big service provider uses NBC's infrastructure to get here and there across the state. So you do have quite a lot of infrastructure. Of course, most of it's going along the south end of 29, and you can see those are schools, I imagine, but there's laterals off to the east and west there. There's quite a lot of commercial fiber available in the county. And one other thing, see here, this one like that. So Pennsylvania does have 3 big opportunity zones. I'll tell you that nobody's quite sure right now how the opportunity zones can be leveraged for broadband. People are working on that. But you should know that you've got a lot of address points within and unserved areas within those opportunity zones. It's something, like I said, I know the state is working on trying to understand really how to utilize those areas. But you should know about those for your own benefits there. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to stop there with the broadband survey piece. There's another component that you have in your packages, and that was consumer comments. So you did get a lot of consumer comments, and we break those down in general comments, business comments, and educational related comments. And so I just want to give you just a quick overview of those. Most respondents are saying that they're expressing their dissatisfaction for the lack of availability of broadband. And equally, they're saying that they need more reliable internet for telehealth purposes. And that's really an important thing too. And let me just tell you, there is funding available for telehealth applications. So that's important for you to know too. There's a lot of, we've given some sample comments there for you to look at. As far as educational comments are concerned, it's kind of exactly what you'd expect from any place, really. People need more reliable service to be able to do their homework and online classes and so forth. So, again, I'm sure you guys are hearing a lot about that these days. And we didn't have a lot of business response, but those that did respond just said that they are mostly concerned about the inability to do telework applications and so forth. So there's a lot of good comments in there, a lot of quotes that we pulled out from those comments that are worth taking a look at. With that, I'm going to suggest I stop and see if you have any questions.
Any questions from board members? Mr. Engel.
Opportunity zones, how does that correlate with the company that we've already been talking to as far as expansion? And if you take note, much of Cascade is what she calls an opportunity zone.
Okay, so let me repeat that so I think I understand. So you're asking how does the opportunity zones relate to you mentioned a provider you're working with right now?
Yes, ma'am.
So is the provider River Street?
That's yes.
We
Who
also,
is it?
SCS Communications.
Okay, yes, I know SBS. Yeah, so fixed wireless. All right, I'm gonna go back a few. I want to go back up to. Oops, I went the wrong way. Sorry. So if you remember this image here, fixed wireless. So we are getting this our data from the FCC. As of the date of this data, SCS was not reporting in your locality, so I don't know where they are in your locality. But if you do, and you're looking at these opportunity zones, are those opportunity zones in the same places that SCS is proposing some fixed wireless solutions?
I do not think so. Maybe there could be some overlap. They're hanging their equipment on our 911 communication towers.
What they gonna do, one per year?
Yeah, I guess I have to say then, I really don't know But this is something, we have a relationship with SES, and, you can share this slide with them, and ask. Like I said, nobody's quite sure yet how broadband is going to relate to, these opportunity zones, and we want to know. We are working on that, but right now, it's still kind of nebulous.
Well, one of the problems with SCS, my memory serves me right, Mr. Ingram, is they couldn't get some of their equipment. That's correct. Because it came out of China, which is, so that was one of the reasons for their delays. But they were looking at, if memory serves me correct, Mr. Smith, correct me if I'm incorrect on this. They were looking at doing most of their expansion not only on our 911 towers, but off other peak points in areas that would pick up from those towers and then expand it for
Correct.
short distance.
Correct. I think they refer to them as community relays, whether it's a church steeple or a water tower. Let's say they're picking up off of White Oak Mountain. They can see Marian Baptist Church from White Oak Mountain. They put a receiver at Marian Baptist Church, which then gives a relay into the immediate community.
And they were looking at some of our volunteer fire stations.
Yes, sir. Correct. It's community, but that's the phase that happens after the towers are populated, and I think there's several more, 3 or 4, that still have to be built before they get to that phase.
Yes, so that all 6 wireless providers really have a challenge with acquiring site access, making sure they have the equipment that they need. So it sounds fast and simple to say we'll just put up some fixed wireless, but there's a lot that goes into trying to actually get equipment on those towers and service delivered from them. So yeah, it's a struggle.
Okay. Mr. Dudley, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I saw where you had a slide. You said that River Street looks like they had getting some funding to expand east of 29. Whereabouts is that exactly? I saw that one. Reason I got some friends in that area, and they are in dire need of high-speed internet. They don't have any. They just have telephones. That's it.
So, so you can see this block. Okay. So those 2 places, the east and west of 29, that are in the yellow.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are the areas. Those are actually census blocks that River Street has bid on and won the award for.
Okay.
Those areas. So they are obligated to build out now. The good news is they've got money to build out. The bad news is they've got 10 years to build out. Or it might be 6. They're supposed to have at least 40% of the build out, I think, in 3 or 4 years. So it is slow, but it is contracted.
Speaking of slow-speed internet, great day. 10 years. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I shouldn't have left.
That's
probably
okay.
not very funny. But the good news here is they have contracted with the federal government to provide gigabit services, which means fiber to the home.
Okay, thank you.
You got this map? Oh, all I was going to say was SCS, I have the map that they briefed us on with all the locations is on my Facebook page for the Westover District.
Okay.
And I guess the furthest south they go is Brosville. And it was black and white, so it was apparently a color-coded map, but you can't really tell what is actually in use at this moment. I think the Brosville point is a pending site, so that's the furthest south they go. The tower at Brosville, that 911 tower.
Mr. Smithman and Mr. Bud, can we get this for SCS up on our website, our Facebook page, so folks can see where they're connected to already? They briefed us on it in one of our prior meetings.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Ingram.
Just to make sure I'm clear, once they finally get their equipment and get these towers up and running, will that service extend all the way through Cascade to the North Carolina border? I've gotten a ton of calls, particularly since the virus and folks being out of school.
SCS broadband? Yeah, I think that's highly unlikely. Without a relay, because the nearest tower is
Drive Fort Fire Department. No,
No.
Tunstall.
Tunstall,
Hmm.
which Tunstall's a brand-new tower.
I'm still living.
So that's right. So that one is not even on their list of 7. Sorry if it's 7 or 9, I can never remember. But it's not on their initial list of the ones they're authorized to hang on. We, of course, will provide that to them. But the service off of a tower is 3 miles? 3 miles. 3 miles. So you're basically looking at a 3-mile radius from Tunstall Tower, which will get service from there, and then they have to create relays to keep going into that area.
You can have an antenna on the tower, and that antenna has a lot of power to transmit to the house, but the small equipment in the house, it's limited to what it can transmit back, so you can't get too far out. The tower, you could actually put a wireless connection in there and hit directly with it if it was clear line of sight tall enough, because you got line of sight, there's powerful antennas, but just what you have in your house, a small antenna, the roof or whatnot, is limited to the power that it can send back to the house. That's why it's not a 3-mile radius around.
Any of the towers that are on Berry Hill right now are not usable for this function?
I'm not familiar with
Well,
towers.
there's power lines and all that go through there that can come off of power.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Unless it's a high line.
That's all we
Well, up on the top of Turkey Cock Mountain, it would be tall enough. It doesn't have to be so tall when you're on top of the mountain. I mean,
Straight shot.
We still have the same 3-mile radius. Yeah.
so long-term plans, you would think with Berry Hill, there should be some internet access that changes the ability to service, in particular your area, Mr. Ingram, you would think.
So NBC is available on that corridor, Mid-Atlantic Broadband Corporation, but they are not a retail provider. So they sell their bandwidth to other providers like Chatham. I don't know if they're a customer or not, but I assume they're a customer. And it's up to them to get it to the door. So the backbone infrastructure is available in that area, but the retail infrastructure is not.
Maybe later on we talk about how to fix that.
Mm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ingram. Anybody else? Okay,
Well-
Mr. Palmer.
I mean, it sounds like we are more familiar with SCS because that's who's providing a lot of our tower upgrades and services for our citizens. But this particular presentation, didn't include that. So we don't have the most accurate information at this point. So it sounds like it's a work in progress still.
Yeah, and one of the things that she said that really resonated with me is it's a common theme we hear about all of our issues and problems that tend to come up is, and we heard it earlier in the PCSA meeting, is the age of stuff. I mean, the age of our cable that's even in the ground and available
It's out of date.
is out of date.
That's right.
So maybe some of the providers that we currently have, we need to be trying to talk to them about, what's their schedule for updating existing infrastructure that they have.
Right. And can I interrupt
Yes, ma'am.
quickly? When you do go through, I encourage you to go through the document that's called decision document. There's quite a lot of recommendations just like that, to work with your cable company to ask, try to find out if they can upgrade some of that infrastructure. There could be funding for that as well. And the slide that I'm still on here with the River Street and the CAP upgrade, those pink spots all over, those are areas that your 2 DSL providers have claimed, have told the federal government that they have upgraded services. It's also a good idea to reach out to those companies and have them advertise the fact that there are upgraded services. It may be that there's population that don't realize that those services are, upgraded services may be available.
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
You know, we probably should have started this conversation with saying this is step one in a long road to hoe.
I would think so.
And it's, believe it or not, it's taken us about a year to get this far. You know, and this is a project that Mr. Sod started. The very first step was surveying the community. We've gotten some good information back. You know, ultimately, what we envision is a sit-down with all of our providers, asking who's doing what, and how can we facilitate the work you're doing. There's funds available through the governor's office with his big broadband initiative, as well as other potential resources that we can help some of these companies leverage. But first, we want to see their plan, and we want to know that we don't have duplicative service or duplicative ideas. For instance, a lot of where River Street Communications is listed on this slide coincides with Mecklenburg Electric land, that they're installing fiber. So we don't want resources being layered on top of other people's resources.
Doubling up.
And our job is to be the convener and facilitator in that conversation. I wish Ms. Ragsdale was here, because this is a project that our Community Development Department will be spearheading going forward, and we're not finished with CIT, and I'll turn it back over to her.
So let me just make one recommendation when you're talking to your providers, and I've seen this many times. You should talk to them individually. If you get them all in a room together, they're not going to share each other's information. It'd be really great if River Street and Mecklenburg would work together to expand. Imagine what they could do if they would work together. The traditional guys, the Comcast, the CenturyLink, Chantel, they're not going to share information publicly with if other people are in the room. So it will save you some headache, I think, if you sat down with those groups individually.
Thank you.
Other questions? Comments? Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, my contact information is at the end of this presentation. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I guess I should let you know that as of July 1, CIT broadband will be transitioned to DHCD. So CIT will not be in the broadband workspace after July 1.
Okay.
But DHCD, so DHCD now has the Office of Broadband, so it's just gearing up. So just keep that in mind too.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time tonight, and I look forward to watching what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay? Hold on.
Okay. We're down to staff and committee and our constitutional officer reports. Franklin County Fire and EMS service recommendation discussion. Mr. Smithwood, I think, and then with the assistance of Mr. Slip.
Yes, sir, and this is directly related to the draft resolution that's passed out earlier this evening. A recommendation came forward from the Fire and Rescue Commission for Franklin County to be notified that effective 90 days that Pittsylvania County will cease providing fire and rescue services to Franklin County, to the Franklin County Response District if a satisfactory resolution cannot be had around equitable funding for the two Cool Branch agencies, the fire department and the rescue squad. That is articulated in the attached resolution. We thought it was important before you got to the business meeting tonight to have an opportunity to review this resolution and action, pending action, and decide, or at least have conversation about whether or not to move forward with the Fire and Rescue Commission's recommendation.
Yeah, opening up the discussion.
I'll go first. Two things. One, I think you made a point last week in the legislative, Mr. Warren, in terms of supporting the recommendation from our commission. I do think that's important. I view them as the experts in this matter. So I'm going to support this tonight, but also with the caveat of, like I said last week, and the fact that, this is dealing with lives and humanity, and my opinion of providing exceptional coverage to those, whether it be in county line or without county line. In this instance, I think with the proper funding, and I think obviously that's the goal that we're trying to achieve in these next 90 days, hopefully, is to get to that point with Franklin County. So I'm going to support this, but also make it hopefully a staff's top priority to get some resolution to where maybe this does not actually have to take place.
I will, and Mr. Farmer knows this, but I can't remember if we transmitted this to the entire board. Did have a conversation with the Franklin County Administrator last week, last Wednesday. I anticipate that we will receive, first of all, if you pass this resolution, we're going to send it to them post haste either tonight or tomorrow as soon as it's executed. And I anticipate a phone call back from them requesting a meeting with the chairman, the two chairmen, and the two administrators to begin the dialogue. And that was I wanted to give them as much notice as possible that was coming, and I requested, first of all, I told them we're looking forward to a constructive dialogue. This is not about, there's no animosity. We're looking for solutions, and we're looking for equitable cost-sharing arrangements. So they are certainly aware of our intent, Mr. Farmer.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. This will be on our agenda tonight, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll move to 6B. And that was an agenda added item, and I guess that's Mr. Mr. Smithman Smart.
Oh, yes, thank you. I couldn't remember what it was. This conversation had come about informally during the last 2 weeks. There was an agenda item on your agenda this evening regarding a potential communication to Governor Northam regarding the opening of businesses in Virginia. And again, we wanted to give the board an opportunity to have that conversation, potentially discuss the format of that communication, whether it's a phone call, a letter, or a resolution, or a billboard. But to give the board opportunity during the work session to have that conversation before action is required at the business meeting later.
Okay. Comments from board members? Mr. Scares.
Yeah, I would initially wanted to follow Bedford County's lead and pursue a resolution. My only goal in any of this is to get word back to the governor that Pittsylvania County is a different situation. I think he's taken a one solution to the whole state, and I think it's wrong. And I really think I've been to Walmart, Lowe's, and Sam's on multiple occasions, and they're full of people, and I think we're taking the wrong steps for Pittsylvania County in our area, because if you look at the number of cases, even, it's so low, it's almost negligible. So I think we need to get our county, get our economies rolling again. So whether we send a letter, whether we do a resolution, we need to get something back. And Mr. Warren had suggested a letter might be a better opportunity to get more in depth of what we're seeking.
Sure.
So I'll go with either route, as long as we get a message back to the governor that he needs to open us up a little bit faster than other parts of the state, perhaps. I don't know how we accomplish that and whether he'll listen to us, but I think that's where we need to go.
I think,
Go ahead, sir.
I agree, Mr. Chairman. I think the governor's looking at the whole state of Virginia through the binoculars of Northern Virginia, and we're not in that purview. And with the expanse that we've got in a rural area alone, it's not like New York City, 27,000 people occupying 1 square mile. So we are far more open, and I do believe that we practicing the normal requirements that were issued by the White House and scientists up there. I do believe that we have the capability of opening up far sooner than most other counties in the state of Virginia. And I am full compliance with Mr. Scares that we get on board, and if we can, by any chance, get through to the governor to accentuate our position, I'm fully bought in. Thank you.
Chair, sir?
Yeah, I do, and it's actually going to piggyback on what you guys just said. You know, I think even with this, we need to look at caution, but nevertheless, we're not Northern Virginia, and we're not jumbled up on everybody. We're Southern Pittsylvania County, and that's just it. We're a county, and we're not. So I fully agree with what you're saying, Ron. I believe that.
Mr. Ingram?
Mayor, this is directed to Mr. Spindler. What would have more of an impact, a resolution or a letter?
Can I say one thing before he answers the question? I probably should have said this to begin with before everybody gets on. I had a conversation with some of the governor's staff, and because we actually were talking about another issue, and I said, while I have you, let me kind of run something by you. And we got to talking about the Bedford County resolution, and his comments were, you know, we do understand there's a difference
Absolutely.
in areas. But as part of the explanation, and to be honest with you, I kind of, first of all, I'm going to say on the record, I 100% support Mr. Scarce and what he said, Mr. Davis, Mr. Ingram, and Mr. Dudley support. So, but he told me a couple of things that kind of made me step back and at least see it in maybe a little bit broader spectrum. It wasn't so much that the difference in the areas aren't glowing because we're not on top of each other in Pittsylvania County. However, he said one of the concerns that they had with all rural areas and the reason they shut them all down particularly was from information from all the experts in statistical data from the standpoint of infrastructure. If we happen to have an outbreak in a rural area, we don't have the infrastructure in relationships to hospital and everything else to accommodate that situation. You know, we wouldn't have the respirators, we wouldn't have a lot of the other stuff. So, and as a follow-up to that, the conversation went on that, you know, one of these things is I hope they get to a point, because I kept questioning, hey, if we have a similar situation that occurs in the fall or winter, we don't want to have to be shut down again. And that, you know, their comment is that that's one of the reasons they want us to be so proactive now, is to lessen the likelihood of this occurring in the future. So having said all that, at least you all know kind of what that conversation was like with their folks and their perspective. You know, I'm happy whether we do a resolution or a letter. You know, I think it needs to be certainly constructed that we feel like our situation is different and just from a rural perspective, and that, you know, we just want them to put it on their radar that, hey, you know, rural can be viewed different than Northern Virginia, Tidewater area, some of the others. So, you know, all of that, and I want to tell you all that more for transparency because I had talked to them. So.
Mr. Ingram, I don't know that there's a right way or a wrong way. Resolutions are certainly more formal. A letter would be more conversational. It really depends on the desire of this board. What kind of message are you trying to put across?
Mr. Chair? Yes, sir. I totally disagree with the staff of the governor's office because the numbers that I've been looking at, they don't match up with what the big pandemic that they've said in this country. First and foremost. The second thing is this. After the 2020 elections, this COVID-19 is going to go away. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
I'm going to make this comment. Under personally, with normal circumstances, I'm a more cautious person than not. And if I'm going to make an error in judgment, it's definitely going to be on the side of caution. However, if it is the wisdom of our board that we can move forward, I see reason for that because we are not of the same demographic as the northern areas. And also insofar as the resolution versus letter concerned, my thoughts go in this direction. Back when we were in conversations about the Second Amendment,
Right.
I think we did a resolution, and there was definitely a response, immediate response.
Big response.
Locally and so if we are trying to make an impact, I think possibly a resolution might be up.
Yep, I agree.
Yes, sir. Paul.
I fully support everything that's been said here at this board, and I'm going to support the resolution. I'm just going to go ahead on the record and say my doubts are it's going to make a difference, unfortunately. But I'm going to support it because I think, as representing my citizens, that's what they would want me to do.
That's right.
But I just don't feel like it's going to.
Yeah, I would echo Mr. Farmer's sentiments. I don't think whether we do a letter or whether we do a resolution at this point in time where the pandemic and all is, I do not want to discredit the seriousness because lives have been lost of what's going on. A lot of lives. I always look at these situations too, and I look at it from the perspective of, what's the broad picture? And, the state is pretty important, they're extremely important in our economic development picture too. So we all have to look at it from a broad picture. I'm okay with whatever this board wants to do. I'm not supporting that we do a letter or a resolution.
I think either way it'll send a message,
Well, the
how we feel.
resolution,
Yeah.
I agree, Dr. Miller, with you on your comment about the resolution in respect to the Second Amendment right. But if you remember, we were early on out there in that. The resolution impact has already been felt.
Yeah.
Because that's what's already done.
Sure.
So, doesn't matter. This is y'all's board. Somebody make a recommendation, we'll move on.
If he make a motion, I'll make a second to it. How about that?
Everyone good?
Well, I guess, are we going to make the resolution for the business meeting, or?
Yeah, we just get a consensus.
Well, I guess all we
Absolutely.
really need is just figure out what everyone wants. If they want a resolution, just say yes. If not, if we want to go with a letter, whatever.
I'm good for resolution.
I move that the board's sentiments be sent to Governor Northam by means of resolution.
Yeah.
We'll do that in business. Okay. All right?
Do we need to take a vote on it?
No.
For action tonight.
It's for action.
We'll take care of it later on.
Okay. We're down to business meeting discussion items. Do we have any? Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I'll be happy to read that for y'all. We have two closed sessions tonight. We have one on the agenda and the one that we added when we approved the agenda. The first one, 8A1, is discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, legal authority. Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A3, subject matter landfill easement right-of-ways, purpose discussion disposition of publicly held real property. Second closed session item, 8B1, will be a discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiated strategy of the public body. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A29. Subject matter, reassessment services. Purpose, reassessment, contract award discussion.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, please cast your vote. All votes have passed, please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Be it resolved that at the meeting of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors on May 19th, 2020, the board hereby certifies by recorded vote that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. If any board member believes that there was a departure from the requirements of the Act, he shall so state prior to the vote indicating the substance of the departure. The statement shall be recorded in the board's minutes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Right. There's no other business before the work session. I'll declare the work session adjourned.
Thank you.